Hi, welcome to Teacher Time with Mrs. Panza. Today I'm going to show you how to use a watercolor wash to fill in all of the white spaces that are still remaining on the monster. I'm going to adjust my screen so that you can see my artwork that's in front of me. For this art lesson, you will need your good copy of your monster. You will also need a water container with paintbrush and watercolor sets. When we're adding color, we want to choose a color that you have not used yet on the monster. So I have orange, green, and purple. So those three colors I'm not going to choose as options for the watercolor wash. Instead, I'm going to choose a color that I have not used yet, which will make my monster look more interesting and also add another color. When we're using our watercolor paints, it's important that you have your water and your brush inside the water. We use a quiet brush so we don't hear any splashing or tapping. The water is the magic ingredient to get the watercolor paints to work. So you need to make sure that your brush is nice and wet. Okay? And I'm actually going to use my brush and just kind of paint over my monster with water first. You won't really notice a change in color, obviously, because the water is clear, but you might notice that your paper looks a little different or the texture starts to change. It might start to bubble up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to choose the color of watercolor. Again, the watercolor paint is dry, so you'll need some water to get it to work. And once you have it, you're going to drizzle it and drop it on top of your monster artwork. We want our watercolor paints to be light in color, so we're going to spread them around. Lots of water and just a little bit of paint on the brush. Now all of the colors that you used to make the designs on your monster and to fill in the space, you can go right on top of those. Watercolor and crayon, there's a wax resist there. So the crayon will actually push or resist the watercolor. Okay, so it's going to push it away. You'll still be able to see all of those lines. You can see this is a pretty short art activity because you're only using one color of watercolor. Remember, watercolor should be very light in color, almost like you can see through it. It shouldn't ever be dark or really thick looking. Okay? So that's what we're going to be working on today, is using that one watercolor to create the watercolor wash on your monster. After our monsters are painted, we'll need to dry nice and flat. Since watercolor paint is very light, it usually doesn't take too long for the monster artwork to dry. Next time, we'll be taking your finished monster artwork and kind of piecing everything together. But for today, enjoy using your watercolor paints and choosing just one color of watercolor to go over all of your crayons, lines, designs, and shapes to complete the monster with color today.